of yours, and just a few minutes we've been talking here, and even a couple of years ago when you're at the AME conference, it was, man, that guy likes his Norsemans. And also that you've collected a lot of knowledge on this airplane, and you're considered somewhat of an expert on this Norseman. So let's talk about the Norseman. Can we start with the history? Like, for people who don't know the Norseman, can you tell us, like, who built it, when it started, some of the changes they made, just to get people up to speed, people who might watch this interview?
Okay, the Norseman was designed by Bob Noorduyn in 1934 and started production in 35, and the test flight was in Montreal at November in 35, forget the exact date.
Yeah, well, that's fine, yeah.
And it went in, stayed in production right up until 59.
Well, it's quite a while then.
And some of them were 767 of the Mark 6s went to the States during the war.
And was that to the military?
To the military, yeah. We built the first one, I think, was AYO. That was the one that was in that movie, Captains of the Clouds. That was they called it HBO in that movie. 1 Mark I, 2 Mark IIs, 3.5 Mark IIIs, and 92 Mark IVs, and 767 Mark VIs, and then Bob Noorduyn kept the V for Victory as a post-war airplane, and we built about 50 of them.
That's interesting that he would be thinking enough ahead to do that.
Yeah. Well, he knew in 1940 we were going to win the war. I mean, that was all there was to it, you know. We couldn't have that situation in Europe continue too long. And a lot of people call it the Mark V, but it is not. It says right in the manual, thou shalt not call it a Mark V. It's a V model, V for Victory. It's called a Norseman V.
Well, that's the first time I've heard that. That's wonderful to know. Yeah, you always hear about the Mark IV and the Mark VI, but
yeah, that's right.
I thought maybe, you know, sometimes a model comes out and it's not good, so they just build a couple and they jump onto the next one.
Yeah.
So no, it was deliberately held, so it's the do not use Mark V.
Yeah, that's right.
Victory.
Yeah, Victory.
So that's good to know. So the big producer was the Mark VI then?
Yeah, the Mark VI, they built the most of those. And there was never any changes. After they built the first Mark IV and went to the bigger engine, the 1340 engine, they made no changes whatsoever in the airplane.
So was the Mark IV the first to have the Pratt & Whitney 1340?
Yes, I believe one of the Mark IIIs also had one. They changed from the, I think that would, one of the Mark IIIs was the first one to have the 1340 engine.
So before that, was it the R985?
The 985 was tried once, but I forget now what model was before that one. They had the 375 horse. No, it wasn't the Jacobs. It was.
Lycoming?
No. Jeez. That slipped my mind just what that was now.
But they very quickly went to the Pratt & Whitney 1340.
That's right.
Do you remember at all when that Pratt & Whitney 1340 came on the market? Like timing-wise?
Oh, I think it came about 29, I believe it was.
Because that was such a significant engine.
Yes, it was.
To give upgraded performance in airplanes.
Yeah, it really was. That was a good engine. Still is a good engine.
Yeah.
And that went into a lot of military aircraft too. Yeah, but almost all the Bush airplanes went to that engine.
Yeah.
It was just the engine. And you couldn't perform an airplane if you didn't have that engine in it. Yeah. Even the old Hamilton metal plane, I think, had that engine too. So.
Interesting.
Yeah.
To your knowledge, were there any ever built of that Mark VII that was designed?
As far as I know, there was only one built, and that
was after the war, right?
Yeah, after the war. Yeah, and I think it was burned in a fire.